Once we have the signal output from our mixer, we've got to deal with getting that up to the level a speaker can understand. So we need an amplifier for that. In the Sanctuary line, we have the SA-4200 amplifier. Instead of just using a simple 2-channel amplifier, what we've incorporated here is an amplifier with 4 distinct channels, each capable of driving out 200 watts, and 2 of those 4 channels can be used in a 70-volt application, meaning if we have a long run from the amplifier to the speaker, and/or we need to put several speakers on that line, we can do it in a 70-volt configuration. Tom, I'm going to talk to you a little about 70-volt setups and how they would be used in a church.
The main advantage of a 70-volt installation is by stepping the voltage up, there is less loss in the wire on the way to the speakers, and then transformers are used at each of the individual speakers that allows us to connect any number of speakers on that line and actually control the balance and level between those speakers.
So in addition to the 70-volt outputs that we have that are switchable in groups of 2 channels, either A and B or C and D, we also have a wonderful feature with the auto delay function. And the auto delay function is useful in any church application where we're going to have delayed speakers. Now, Tom, tell us why we would have delayed speakers and why we want to bring this part of the system into the scene.
Well, contrary to popular belief, it's not so the pastor can deliver his sermon on Saturday and people can come in on Sunday and listen. Delayed speakers are actually advantageous in a larger church where the main set of speakers can't fully cover all of the seating in the room. If you have a balcony that obstructs sound from the main speakers, often speakers are installed underneath to try and fill that area. Or in a large church, additional speakers are needed towards the rear of the room to try and cover that area. The problem results from how slow sound travels. If we did not delay the rear speakers and you were sitting in the rear of the room, the first thing that we'd hear is the sound come out of the nearby speakers. And then a fraction of a second later, the sound would arrive from the main speaker systems. The problem that creates is that we hear the main speaker system as an echo, and it makes it more difficult to understand spoken word. If we use a delay line to delay the speakers in the rear of the room, we can actually set it so that the sound arrives from the main speaker system, and then a fraction of a second later, the sound comes out of the auxiliary speakers. It blends together seamlessly, and we hear the sound all as one that appears to come from the front of the room.
As we look at the business end of the 4200 on the back, we begin to see the value inherent in the design. If we look at the first 4 connections here, we see the 4 inputs for each channel. They have a bridgeable input between A and B. We can also put a low-cut filter on it. As we sweep around, we begin to see the auto delay feature set. And Tom, lead us through that, please.
Be happy to. In addition to having the ability to delay the outputs C and D, we have built the tools into the product to actually set that delay. You'll see that we have a test reference output and a test microphone input on the rear of the amplifier. The test reference output runs into a microphone input on the main sound system, and the test microphone would be a microphone placed near the auxiliary speaker or the speaker that we're going to delay. The way the system works is that a ping is generated that goes out of the main sound system. It's picked up by the microphone, and the computer in the amplifier measures the time that it takes from the sound to travel from the main speaker system to the microphone. It then pings the local speaker system, and that time is measured again. It uses those time measurements in order to automatically compute what delay time is necessary for proper alignment of the speaker systems. Using the encoder knob with lights of too long, too short, and okay, we can dial in that delay time. But even more simply than that, we can simply press the button on the encoder and the amplifier automatically sets the correct delay time required.
So if I were a church installer and looking at this, either a member of the church doing it as a volunteer or as a contractor, all I have to do is deal with this little small section.
That's right.
I can plug any mic into there.
Any mic into there.
And plug that output into any channel in my mixer.
That's correct.
And so I'll hear a ping, much like a submarine type ping.
Yep.
And if I bring this to either C or a D. So we've got two outputs that are delayed.
Yes.
Right? And then I can just push this one button, and it searches as if it were a guitar tuner.
That's exactly right. And when you're all done, you set it back to lock, and the delays are locked in and can't be bumped.
What could be easier? It's a simple way to solve a big problem.
It eliminates all the fancy tools and other calculations necessary to try and figure out what delay is required in order to get the speaker in proper alignment.